You're listening to DraftKings Network.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
Jessica, I feel like I'm left out on a trend that I was not aware of. You have come in with one of those giant Stanley Cups, and you are informing me that this is the most popular thing now. There are lines everywhere all over our country. People are outside. Actually, it's not just trying to order by delivery on the internet. They're going to places and forming old-fashioned lines in order to get a cup that I am here to say, even though Flanagan's is not paying me for this, is perhaps the second best cup anywhere to be found in the world, but that Flanagan's has the greatest of all the cups to be found in the universe and should be insulted by the fact that there aren't lines at Flanagan's to get Flanagan's cups instead of the Stanley Cup that is very big and looks very expensive to me. You're telling me that America's wasting money on cups?
I have so many thoughts on this phenomenon. So yes, first of all, agreed. The Flanagan's Cup, Mike is holding one right now, the best cup ever.
It does sweat a lot.
What? You need the sweat when you're eating the wings or the ribs to kind of like wash it off.
It's an all-purpose cup. The Stanley Cup one can only really drink out of. But somehow, via TikTok and the internet and viral trends, we talked about this last year with Billy and how if you Google Stanley Cup now, this is what you see. You do not see the hockey trophy Stanley Cup. You see this 40-ounce tumbler thing.
Heavy.
That costs like $50.
But
you could do some damage with this thing.
Is it a style and fashion thing? Like people want to be seen holding this cup?
People want to collect different colors of the cup, and only in this style, because this brand has been around for decades, but for some reason it caught on the internet, and now this week the camera is way too zoomed in on me. Please back that up. I did not get enough sleep last night for this kind of level of close-up, but people have been lining up outside of Target to get a special edition Stanley Cup. It's a $50 cup, give or take.
$50?
It's coming out in like these special Target Valentine's Day edition colors that are like hot pink, and it's reselling. I have seen on eBay people reselling the cups that were hard to get this week for like over $200 for a $50 cup that you just drink.
All right, what are we doing?
And it's not even. I like the cup.
It's a damn good cup.
I have one of the cups. I will say, it's not. It's no Flanagan's Cup. First of all. Second of all, it leaks.
What are we doing? Look,
It's not vacuum sealed.
I don't mean to sound. I'm going to sound like the world's oldest person, not understanding a country that is making popular a $50 cup. I know there are all sorts of forms of the apocalypse encroaching upon us, but really, I sound like the world's oldest person, not understanding the popularity of a $50 fashion cup.
I completely agree with you, Dan. I find it baffling because I think the purpose of one of these cups is it's better for the environment to drink out of a reusable cup than to buy plastic or use plastic that is one use, right? The single-use plastic that you can't really recycle.
It'll keep your drink cold for like 2 months.
No, these ones actually, the ice melts. So I also have a ton of Yetis because Yetis are, in my opinion, the best of this kind of vacuum seal cup thing. And they also don't leak. If you put them upside down with the lid on, water does not come out. These, water comes out, and also the ice melts very quickly. It's also very difficult to clean out the straw. There was someone on TikTok, not with one of these cups specifically, but one of the other very trendy viral cups, who didn't realize that there was mold growing inside the lid, and she was getting sick because she was just inhaling mold all the time. So you have to clean them very intricately. Whereas the Yeti, it has 2 parts. You just clean it and that's it. Put it in the dishwasher, whatever. I don't understand this either, Dan. I think it's totally bizarre because, like I was saying, the purpose of a reusable cup is that it's better for the environment, but now it's become a collector's item.
You have coffee in there?
Yes, I have so much coffee in there.
All right, well, forgive my ignorance.
It's just becoming one of those overconsumption things where it's people are collecting tons of them just to have them, and it's just kind of defeating the purpose of why you would buy a cup like this, to just use it and not buy, a regular plastic cup.
Mike Ryan, are you looking because she was drinking so vigorously from that cup that has an undertow in it, and she had a lot of coffee? Is it because of the speed and the amount of information? When she gets passionate around these things, she speeds up whether she's having the coffee or not. And I don't still know how you got this one. Did you get it recently? Was it hard? This one was hard to get?
This was just a regular old Stanley Cup. Not one of the special edition collector's items cups. Lehman, because he heard us talking about it on the show a few months ago, got it for me like kind of as a bit, like, haha, look, I got you a Stanley Cup for Christmas. So I've been using it, and I do like it. It fits in the cup holder. It's a nice cup. It's good quality. It's very expensive, but, I'll probably use it a lot, so it'll be worth the cost per use, I would assume. But it's not like, I don't understand the impetus to collect. If you go on TikTok, Dan, you can see people that have every single color of this cup, and it's just like hanging on their walls.
The question I now have for you, please forgive my ignorance here, but the only reference point I have for this in my lifetime was the Cabbage Patch doll that children wanted 30 years ago. You're telling me this cup is a global or it is a national phenomenon that is the craze of all buying crazes, that people are physically going to places to get something and not just demanding that the internet bring it to them?
Yes, and I don't get it. It's a cup. Like the Beanie Babies, that had its own weird bubble. But
Same thing.
I guess
You can cuddle with that at least.
It was a unique toy. It was, I know like moms in Naperville are kind of what made the Beanie Baby blew up, but you could kind of say like, okay, like kids liked collecting them and they had different cute little fuzzy faces, but this is just a cup. I don't get it. And I guess like, I don't think like the people doing it, like I have no beef with them. Like they're not really doing anything like that bad. It's not really hurting anyone, but I just find it bizarre.
Chris Cody, why are you just...
Well, I'm pro Stanley. If you're out there watching Stanley, I love you. Okay? That's it.
Why are you guys showing...
This one's a free cup.
This
Shilling for Stanley Cup over here?
Fraud Stanley
My
Cup.
wife loves them. She has 4.
Okay. Really? All right. Mike Ryan, I need some assistance with something here because I really don't know how to talk about some of the things in the industry that I want to talk about without people feeling like I am salty or bitter about something. Aaron Rodgers is in the news, and then I become anti-Pat McAfee when I couldn't possibly be more supportive of Pat McAfee, Shannon Sharpe, everyone who bets on themselves and gets to use this system. Like, I want to support what those people are doing. I want those people to win. Shannon Sharpe's podcast is a monster. He just had on Katt Williams. Katt Williams does some of that, but that interview that he did with Katt Williams has now set the internet on fire because you never see a great comedian take out everyone else in his industry name by name. And that comedian has the credentials, even though he's a little bit crazy. He's got all of the credentials where you say that man is telling the truth, but he's also such a great storyteller that he can always be lying. And he took out Steve Harvey, and he took out Cedric the Entertainer, and he took out 1,000 guys in this interview with Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe, who can keep up with anybody. Shannon Sharpe couldn't check him on all the things he was claiming because he took out Kevin Hart. He called him a Hollywood plant, as if he's but while also saying Bernie Mac was the greatest to ever do it. So he's got the comedy credentials to take out everybody, and he did.
It was an electric interview, Dan. I was watching the entire thing, and I was like, my one question is, yes, Katt is a little eccentric. He says sometimes things that are a little out there. How many times do you need to say something that's a little out there to be discredited on all the things you say? Because he took out Harvey Weinstein, he took out Diddy, he took out Steve Harvey, he took out Kevin Hart, he took out, you name it, he's taken them out. So what does he have to say to be discredited on all that stuff?
I think that's as good an interview as you will hear this month, just because Katt Williams is that entertaining, and Katt Williams will say things that you just don't hear. He is...
What do you have on South Beach Sessions?
Alex Rodriguez.
Oh, that's a big one. That's a big one.
AROD.
From the hood?
The Alex
interview.
Rodriguez.
The Alex Rodriguez. Yes.
Baseball player.
Old Kugler, when he left here, that was a real taunt from you.
He's gone?
Well, I haven't seen him this week.
He's been gone for like 2 weeks already.
I don't know where.
He's 000 on the calendar.
I don't know where he is.
Ooh.
Out of office.
Yes, he said we cracked the machine. He said that that AROD was cracked in the South Beach session that we did with him. Is that tomorrow?
You're asking me? I'm the guy that just asked you what's coming up. Well, it was a genuine question.
But yeah, it was it's a genuine answer, and I didn't realize until after I'd answered it that you were taunting me with Shannon Sharpe got a better guest.
Well, no, you said right before that that's the best interview you'll hear all month.
Yeah, and I'm like, don't sell yourself short, big dog.
Yeah, that's Timberwolves owner Alex Rodriguez.
Come on, you can do this.
Tomorrow it is Timberwolves owner Alex Rodriguez.
Well, it better be Cougs. You better get out. You better delete that OOO.
A cracked open Alex Rodriguez. I give him a gift. I don't want to spoil it. But
yes, you do.
Do you know what this is? Do you know what this gift is? I gave in a public moment because I've been critical of AROD over the years. I have beaten him up.
No.
Spoiler alert.
Now that's going to make news.
We were worried about the Saltburn spoilers.
We're going well beyond what I was trying to accomplish with Foot Girls.
And you don't even see it because it's below the desk.
Yeah, a little below.
That's better than Katt Williams, Dano.
Below deck.
There was a gift.
Tune in tomorrow. What a tease.
It is a fact. Wait,
It's like Wedding Crashers.
that is correct advertising. Tune in tomorrow. I will.
Dinner feels so good.
I will give Alex Rodriguez a gift under the desk. Yes, you can make that as sensual as you'd like.
You may go viral for this gift that you give him under the desk.
I believe I will. Do any of you know? Is there video yet that anyone has seen?
I saw it as it was happening. I was on a Zoom meeting and I burst out laughing because, it's so graphic what's happening under that table.
I saw it as well, and anytime you see a gift under a desk, it's something.
Yeah, that's tomorrow on South Beach Sessions. I'm glad you asked, but
hopefully
it won't be as good as the Katt Williams interview, though.
That's going to be a pretty big moment.
Who do you take out, Dan?
Yeah. Who's a plant?
For sure, Kevin Hart, Dan.
He
put out some
plant.
He put out an outline that was incredible.
Another South Beach Sessions guest.
I love Kevin Hart. Great partner of ours.
I would love to do 5 hours with Katt Williams. Unfortunately, that's Shannon Sharpe's interview on the volume. We had a chance to hire Shannon Sharpe a long time ago.
You only watch A Few Good Men.
Season's greetings, everybody. It is Mike Ryan here to talk to you about Miller Lite, but also here to talk to you about this festive season and how Miller time can make holiday time even better. I love this winter weather. It's a great excuse to go outside and toast some wonderful memories with some friends. Why don't you do that with an ice-cold Miller Lite in your hand? And in some parts of the country, you don't need a koozie. It just stays cold out there. How wonderful is that? Take a sip, my friends. Look around. Reflect on your year. You made a lot of good calls, and no call better than having this Miller Lite right now. A beer that is brewed for taste. It's triple hops brewed. They could have stopped brewing it twice with hops, but they didn't. They went that extra mile, and they brewed it with hops 3 times. The original light beer since 1975, and still the best one. I'm talking about Miller Lite. Great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Don Batard.
He, for some reason, would do a Gary Stevens impersonation of the offensive coordinator of the Miami Dolphins and the University of Miami. Go ahead. Do you want to do that for the people? Your Gary Stevens impersonation? You want to give people some of that? 30 years in the making.
Stugotz.
What? Who needs me?
Oh, that?
What?
Do that my whole life.
You're going to go to Buffalo and win with Bernie Pomeroy? Who needs me?
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugotz.
It's time for Thursday Thunder. It's presented by DraftKings Fantasy Sports. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code DAN, because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Tony, what do you have for the people?
Cooked up a little something for Thursday Thunder. We are staying in one game today, ladies and gentlemen. The Denver Nuggets versus the aforementioned Golden State Warriors. I like the Nuggets -3 tonight. I also like over on Chris Paul assists at 7.5. And I'm also slotting in Nikola Jokic over 25.5 points. So over 25.5 points, over 7.5 assists for Chris Paul. Denver Nuggets -3 gives you a nice plus 470 little parlay ski.
Jessica, why are you making those faces? I didn't think he had to go parlay ski there either. I don't know why he made it.
Overachieving, Tony.
I call him a parlay ski.
That sounds pretty good.
How so? How is he overachieved?
3 picks.
But yes, very serious picks. And
I thought
Thursday Thunder is a serious, different
That's
game.
my bad.
Totally different game. Yeah, it's a totally different game.
My bad.
I can't believe we're going to get to Mina Kimes here in a second. But Mike Ryan, I've got to call you out on something because it is a bit pathetic. And it's nice to see the general eagerness of Jeremy Taché around, hey, the Heat win in Los Angeles. Lakers are a pretty important team. Okay, you can make the regular seasons irrelevant, but let's go Heat chance. And then Shams is reporting deepening disconnect, and hardened Heat fan Mike Ryan, who's seen so much, that happening against LeBron, the reporting of the deepening disconnect, and you being like, yeah, who cares when they're 35 games in and they're making the LeBron thing shake and crumble. You're a bit hardened and cynical and got too much sports in your life if you can't feel that a little bit based on what it is that you and LeBron had for a relationship.
Correct. On the air. Off the air, I'm trade machining like a son of a gun.
Mina Kimes is with us now. It is nice to see you, Mina. We are headed into the biggest Dolphin game since I don't know when. And I'm going to say it's bigger than the one they just played against the Ravens because I think Buffalo is better than Miami, and this is a super interesting game. Are you in the camp that believes that Miami has been exposed here and the injuries are going to be a problem, and Miami would have very little reason for confidence against this Bills team this week?
First, I'd like to say I love your polo shirt today, Dan. Haven't seen that one before. I am nervous if I'm Miami, and I'm mostly nervous because of the defense. Buffalo fans will give them no sympathy for the injuries. Obviously, they had their fair share of injuries, but I think the timing of them is such a problem. Those injuries came earlier in the season, and you've seen that Bills defense make adjustments, young players stepping up. They've evolved their scheme. Whereas Miami, and I think this was a real big problem against Baltimore, where you saw so many miscommunications on the back end. Lamar Jackson was amazing, but guys were open. There were busted coverages all over the place. They got them with the motion play that they use. That's a problem at this point in the season. The fact that you are down Xavier Howard, obviously Bradley Chubb is horrible. Jalen Phillips is already injured. It's a really bad time to lose your most important players, and then to lose them right before this game. I'll be very curious to see how Vic Fangio approaches that challenge, because it is not going to be easy for him, especially with some of the deficiencies in personnel in the secondary.
Well, what do you make as someone who digs deep on where it is the advantages are found? What do you do with Fangio's never had any answers for Josh Allen? Like, if you're building your whole division on toppling the Bills, statistically, Fangio, no matter who his defense is, can never do anything against Josh Allen. So why would that change?
Well, earlier in the season, when these teams play, they didn't have Jalen Ramsey, should be noted. Phillips was still coming off of the injury, but the Bills' offense was also really different. I don't know if you remember this, but Stephon Diggs went absolutely nuclear in that game, and he hasn't really been a factor for a few weeks now. This Bills' offense under Joe Brady has been more about like ball control, throwing to the tight ends. So I think for Fangio, it's a different challenge from what it was earlier in the season. I do think having Ramsey in helps a lot. I think on that side of the ball, your hope, frankly, and this is something that I think Fangio will probably orient his game plan towards, is that you get YOLO Josh Allen. We're coming off of a game, by the way, where Josh Allen did not play well against New England. He has been a little bit up and down this season. There are games where he just feels compelled to go nuclear and put on the cape and make throws with 3 guys covering 1 guy downfield. And the truth, Dan, is the best way to get him to do that has nothing to do with Vic Fangio. It's the offense. The offense has to put up points pretty much every drive to force Josh Allen into that mindset where he feels like he has to be superhero Josh to keep up with him.
Can you explain to me, please, just in ways that I can understand? Because the position is changing so much. The schemes and systems around the positions are changing so much that Cam Newton tells me that so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so game managers, no one would ever accuse Josh Allen of that because he plays the style of football that we think is reckless and fun and can be great, and he can have 5 turnovers. Explain to me what happened against the Patriots, where the Patriots almost won that game even though they had like 4 first-half turnovers because Josh Allen was so terrible. What did Belichick do to Josh Allen that's repeatable?
Nothing. He was just off. And I that kind of goes back to what I was saying. I feel like with Josh Allen, it's almost less about what the defense does and more about what version of him you get. The risk reward balance is always the thing with him. And the reason we accept some of the riskier plays is because the reward is so great. If you happen to get one of those games where the risk, it's tilted too far towards risk and not enough towards reward, because he was just off throwing the ball in that game. It wasn't like the Bills, Patriots defense was throwing anything crazy at him. They do have a very good run defense, better than Miami's, I would say. But it really came down to just the quarterback having an off day and then putting too much pressure on himself. And I want to just, if you're a Miami fan, you're listening to this and you're saying, well, she's making it sound like because of her defense, we don't have a chance. I don't believe that. I really think if your offense can bounce back, and we have seen this Miami offense, by the way, bounce back after bad performances pretty frequently over the last 2 years. If they can bounce back and put pressure on Allen to keep up, that is how I think you start forcing him into making some of those decisions.
Explain something else to me. Why were you one of the very few people I heard saying weeks ago when a certain hyperventilation had taken over the 49ers and all they can do offensively, that you were telling us, hey, Ravens really match up well with them? It felt like that, Mike Florio's over here saying Ravens are going to get the shit kicked out of them. Everybody thought that the 49ers are, going to out-physical, out-tough you, but nobody does that to the Ravens. What were you seeing in the matchups that you were telling us before anybody else was, hey, the Ravens they can be seen as better than the 49ers?
I do want to start by saying I did pick the Niners to win that game, so I'm not trying to take a huge victory lap. I did not think that the Ravens would get the bleep kicked out of them, however, because the Ravens defense is very well built to play both of these Shanahan-type offenses in Miami and San Francisco. I mean, that back-to-back performance from that defense against those two offenses who've been so dominant over the course of the season is incredibly impressive. And there are two things I think that really matter. One is that they have elite linebacking, which is kind of rare in the NFL right now. It's been interesting as frankly, I think Miami has suffered from this a little bit. You look at a team like Philadelphia that chose not to invest in the linebacker position because for years, Dan, we thought in addition to devaluing running backs on offense, off-ball linebacker was not as important. I would argue that right now, off-ball linebacker is more important than it's ever been because these offenses, these Shanahan offenses are basically built to mess with linebackers by always making you wrong, whether it's through the option stuff, the RPO stuff, all the motions and whatnot. So the Ravens come in with, next to San Francisco, the best linebacker duo in the NFL. Roquan Smith has been unbelievable this year, and his ability to cover, pressure, basically take out the middle of the field, which is so important against both Miami and San Francisco, is paramount to beating both those teams. And then the other thing is their defensive coordinator, Mike McDonald, is brilliant and, in my view, should be the number one head coaching hire candidate this cycle. It's
so interesting to me, though, Mina, because I feel like when they talk about Sirianni, and I couldn't believe I'm seeing Adam Schefter say, he's safe. He's safe. Sirianni's not going to be fired. When I'm watching a team that's been pretty great, and now people are questioning the Eagles, and I thought it's not about toughness. It's not about anything else other than their linebackers can't cover anybody. Their linebackers are terrible.
And it's not just the live. Well, I didn't know that Adam said that Sirianni's safe, but that's funny. The way you just did that, it's like when there's a natural disaster on Facebook and you can like tag that. I've been picturing Adam Schefter like going around the NFL and tagging coaches safe, or he's the Reaper, right? Because they'll let you know if your job is in jeopardy. it's good for Nick Sirianni. He is not having a good season. I would say he bears a lot of responsibility. And it's taken a second, I think, to get to that point for some of the issues that they've had on both sides of the ball. I actually think offensively, coaching has been more of the problem, whereas defensively, it's a personnel thing. Linebacker, you came into the season knowing linebacker was weakness, but the thought was, well, they still have this elite front and they have these two good covered corners. They'll be fine. But the front hasn't been elite. The corners have either been injured or not playing well. And suddenly you look at this defense and it's like, what do you do well? And the answer is not really anything right now.
We've seen progressively as the season's gone on that defenses have caught on to what the Eagles have done over the last few years. And I guess it culminates, it builds to crescendo with someone that was formerly on their staff just totally taking them apart. And I know A.J. Brown held the players responsible somewhat, but it appears from watching the Eagles these last few weeks is they're out of moves on offense. Yeah. Would you agree with that?
When you compare them to some of the offenses, the ones we were talking about, San Francisco and Miami, or I would say Baltimore, frankly, when you watch that offense and some of the things that Todd Monken is doing creatively, the Eagles offense feels relatively simplistic. It was that way last year, too. It is premised around the idea that they have a numbers advantage with Jalen Hurts as a runner, which has not been the advantage it was last year, this year, and then talent. We've got a better wide receiver doer than you. Why do we need to do all kinds of crazy stuff to get them open and the motions and all that stuff? Well, the problem is when, as you said, defenses are keyed in on that, and when you lose that numbers advantage and when guys aren't executing at a super high level, and you don't have a schematic advantage, suddenly you're just not dominant anymore. They're not a bad offense, but they're no longer great because the coaching isn't putting them in the same position you see with some of the really, really good offenses around the NFL right now.
I'm going to break with you real quick, but just out of curiosity, if we gave you endless questions about football because we were forever fascinated, do you think you could answer them endlessly? Like that you would enjoy informing our audience because you care about this stuff so ridiculously?
Like if you were asking me about like Bucks, Panthers and Jags, Titans, and like you really want to get gross. Let's get gross. Ask me the most unpleasant football question you can come up with after the break.
All right, let's do this, and let's speed it up, because I do believe that Mina would be forever titillated by being able to answer your endless football questions. Let's do this interactively next.
Don Batard.
Mike, Marty Schottenheimer passed away.
Stugotz.
Why do you sound so happy?
How did you say that?
Yeah, you're very excited.
I was
wrong tone.
I was not excited. I was not excited.
Unbelievable.
I was merely pointing out that a Browns legend had passed away.
Hold on. That was unbelievable.
Guys, Marty Schottenheimer died.
Hold on.
And maybe the greatest coach to never win a Super Bowl.
Okay, wait a minute. Let's just settle down. Let's all settle down.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
I'm now officially a bit disgusted by Mina because she wants to talk about Carolina Panthers football, and I can't do it. It's too dirty for me. I've got to stay with the high end questions like who's better, the Dolphins or the Lions? The Dolphins or the Lions? Because I think they're kind of the same. They're mirrors of each other in different conferences. Who's better, Lions or Dolphins?
Ooh, the Dolphins are the better team, but the injuries on defense make me a little bit hesitant to pick them right now. I'm still going to go Dolphins, though. I still believe that offense can put up points on anyone. Also, Bucks-Panthers isn't even close to being the grossest thing this week. Like, that game actually matters. The Bucks need to win. Have you looked at the list of quarterbacks who are starting? We're getting Wentz Darnold. I cannot wait for Wentz Darnold.
No, you're not that dirty.
Give it to me. Give me Wentz Darnold.
I'm not going to get that dirty yet. I want to ask you if at the age of 35, is Travis Kelce at the end of this?
I don't think so. I think obviously he's not quite what he was last year, although they've been kind of limiting his snaps until recently. But I still think when you still watch him, he still gets open. He still bodies guys. He just has a few more drops, a little bit less juice in his step.
Can you give us a Jets-Patriots preview, perhaps?
No, come on.
That is straight to the X-rated stuff. Are we ready to get
aggressive? Can we go? Come on, go.
I got a good one here. How about a preview of Easton Stick versus Blaine Gabbert?
So Easton Stick, after a very, very disastrous start, I thought looked a little bit better against the Buffalo Bills. His mobility adds a factor that can be hard to project. Obviously, the Chargers aren't really playing anyone right now, but I would say the fact that he has been playing more football than Gabbert, who obviously has not been playing,
gross.
He hasn't had to.
You're gross. You're disgusting.
I can't believe you actually
There's
gave a
something there with
response.
these.
You disgust me. You want to now go Gabbert on us when I refuse to believe that I will not believe that Gabbert's starting an NFL football game this weekend. Come on.
Is he the worst quarterback you saw? I don't think so.
Come on.
Gabbert's won games.
You're disgusting.
CJ Beathard played nice.
CJ Beathard protected the football. They played a massive role. They needed to win that game. CJ Beathard, I thought they ran the ball well with Travis Etienne, which obviously helped a great deal. But I thought Beathard, he also showed a little something running the ball. I have a confession about him, which is I think he's tougher than he is purely because his name is Beat Hard, which I also realize has other connotations.
Come on. Tomorrow with Alex Rodriguez on South Beach Sessions.
That's absent context for Mina. Is Mike Vrabel going to be coaching his last game in Tennessee? It's been a weird week in terms of leveraging the media. And I think Rain Carthon is incentivized to kind of play out. No, we love Mike. We love Mike. Mike had a lot of success over there prior to Rain Carthon, and that's always a dicey scenario. It's in the best interest of the Tennessee Titans for Rain Carthon to make it seem like no trouble in paradise whatsoever, because maybe he kind of wants the Patriots to trade for him.
He's not he's not the problem in Tennessee. That team was bad coming into this year. I thought they would be the worst in the division. The offensive line, they're a rebuilding team that didn't really go full rebuild because they kept Tannehill around, and then obviously they started Levis. But Vrabel's not the problem in Tennessee. By the way, speaking of dirty, the Jags are playing them. The Jags have to win this game. I'll probably pick the Jags, but do not underestimate Mike Vrabel's ability to drag teams into the mud. He will do some of the grossest stuff in that game. We're talking fake punts, weird rules, exploitation that we don't even know about. I would stay so far away.
I think Tennessee, one last ride with Tannehill and Vrabel as a super dog ruining everything. The Titans are actually pretty well positioned, though. They have the most cap room out of anybody next year. They did a good job of digging themselves out of a bad situation.
This was the rebuilding year, yeah.
You're dirty, though, because Jeremy was whispering in my ear in a way that made me uncomfortable the names of quarterbacks who are playing this weekend.
Jeff Driscoll's going.
Against Browning. That's a football game that's being played this weekend.
We got corrected because I think the Texans, the year that TJ Yates started a playoff game, had 4 quarterbacks. So prior to this year, they were the first team to have 4 quarterbacks in a year and make the playoffs. Not nearly as strong as this Browns team. The Browns have one up them and decided, okay, we're going to start a 5th just to make sure we have that record. And here comes Driscoll.
Jeff Driscoll, I believe, briefly tried out to play wide receiver when he was in Cincinnati. He was considering a position change because he thought his career as a quarterback was over. Oh, gosh. It's a Jeff Driscoll revenge game, right? Got to factor that into account.
You're gross.
He's got legs. He can move. But, Jake Browning... when you look at all these backup quarterbacks, a real sentence that has to be said is Jake Browning is the creme de la creme of this group.
Come on.
We're still waiting on that Jets-Patriots preview.
No, not too fast.
This has been disgusting, by the way. But my question was too gross.
No, Stidham O'Connell.
Both quarterbacks who I think are probably near the top if we're ranking all of the gross quarterbacks. I would probably... O'Connell's been playing longer. And I think that I kind of like what this Raiders defense has been doing lately. They've been sneakily pretty good under Patrick Graham, a lot better than you would expect. Don't love Max Crosby versus that offensive line. So I'll go Vegas and O'Connell.
I do enjoy this part, though. Antonio Pierce is going to be the first genius in that sport that descends from interning for Howard Stern. Antonio Pierce is going to get that job, correct? Based on the fact, he interned for the Howard Stern show, and you didn't know that? Yes, Antonio Pierce did that, and now he kind of Jeff Saturdays his way into a job a little bit, right? He was the guy who was available near, but no, he's got coaching experience. He's not Jeff Saturday, but Antonio Pierce is going to end up getting a prime job because they won 6 games at the end of the season.
I think he'll also get a prime job because, and this is something we probably don't talk about enough when we talk about organizations and decisions they made. The Raiders don't have a ton of, and I don't mean this to diminish Antonio Pierce, just try to understand what they might do, especially after the contracts that they gave out most recently to Josh McDaniels. But before that, Gruden, they don't have a lot to spend on head coach. So I suspect they might see the opportunity to just stay in-house, ride with the guy that, who has been doing a good job this year. And stick with him, especially after they let Bisaccia go. Not that would have been.
Is that a problem for any other team, Mina? That the finances of a coach, that's a problem for a lot of organizations in that sport?
Yes, it is. And I said we don't talk about it enough. Like, it does affect decision making, not just with coaching hires, but with players. Like, you have to look at how much cash owners have on hand. It's why the Bengals changed the name of their stadium, because they literally needed the money to pay Joe Burrow, and we'll see who else. See if Jamar Chase would be next. But that's the thing about NFL owners, right? Like, a lot of them are like, the third generation of owning like a pencil factory. It's not like tech where it's like Mark Cuban, and there's a lot of, I'm not calling them broke, but they're not exactly, the sort of wealth that we see sometimes in other leagues.
Mina, there's a quarterback that is 6-2 in his last 8 with his team in the playoffs right now, fighting for a division, and we are not talking about him. Gardner Minshew. Why are we not talking about Gardner Minshew and the Colts?
Because he's not the reason why they win games. I would say that would be my first answer.
I would debate that.
I think that this is interesting because it's kind of Coach of the Year Bowl, because Shane Steichen, D'Amico Ryan's probably deservedly favorite. Shane Steichen has done a fantastic job with this Colts team, despite the fact that Gardner Minshew is giving him pretty limited quarterback play, tries to turn over the football a lot. He is not playing at a very high level. I wouldn't even, like, when we go through that list of backups, I probably wouldn't put him at the top.
I acknowledge you've probably addressed this on your podcast, the Mina Kimes Show, featuring Lenny and all the other wonderful things that you do for ESPN. But bad defenses are giving the Kansas City Chiefs problems. It's not just the good, and they're going to run into plenty of good ones in the playoffs, or maybe just one.
Stugotz says he wants to see the Chiefs in the playoffs.
I don't disagree, and I think playing Blaine Gabbert, even though that Patrick Mahomes isn't necessarily the issue there, but I think this offense just needs more reps somehow. It doesn't look like they got a snowball's chance, even though they have Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. What is the issue with this offense?
Is that the clip where Stugotz, where I just saw it on my socials, where he's like incredibly close to the camera for some reason?
Yes.
What was the thinking?
A viral take. We wanted to have a viral take.
It worked. Dan produced it. You noticed.
Should I try to do that? I don't know if I want to be.
Yes, let's do that.
Let's zoom into her screen. Can we just maximize that?
Let's see how we do that. We've got 2 minutes left in the segment, and we've got to hit
we can't distort the image. She has to do it because she's not going to be able to do it.
Okay, but what do you mean? Don't underestimate her. She's not an old person like me.
Can you zoom in? Just bring your face to the camera.
All right, but you've got to do a take.
Oh, I have to go really close to the camera.
All right, let's do this. This is what we need from you, Mina. You've got about 90 seconds left. They'll give you a countdown. But we are trying to get a viral take from you that goes as close to your mouth as it can, but you have to say something that's at least a little polarizing or meant to go viral. So you have 90 seconds right now.
Wait, I have to. Okay, wait. Am I close enough, or should I get closer to the camera?
How should we do this?
Closer.
We've got 80 seconds left.
Even closer.
Look at I was sweating. I was on first take.
I'm talking about like Saltburn bathtub close.
Right. This was your idea, Mina.
All right, we have 70 seconds left, and it's okay. I'm giving you time to think about this, and we will work on our end to get as close to your mouth as we can.
Okay. Here is my, I don't like my teeth. I just chipped both of them, by the way, because I grind them so much. But anyways, all right. Okay.
We're good.
50 seconds.
Okay. Here is my potentially viral take. I think the Kansas City Chiefs will still play in the AFC Championship. I know that.
How?
Oh, it's good, right? I look so bad in this video. I can't believe I'm letting you guys do this.
Explain with 20 seconds left.
I think outside of the Baltimore Ravens, when you look around the division, I think, or the conference rather, I think all of the AFC teams are pretty flawed. Talked about Miami's defense. We'll see what happens with Buffalo. The Jags are a mess, but they'll probably win. The Browns are scary, but I think that they'll get knocked out by the Ravens, depending on how that thing shakes out. So when you look around and you're like, okay, well, one team has Patrick Mahomes. I know that the quarterback or the offense has been a mess, but the defense still looks pretty damn good.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details.